if you are a political candidate, campaign, or party, you should have priorities that allow you to appeal in a way that wins elections. And if you are a movement, let's say you're part of the broader left or the broader right, you don't necessarily have to get elected, right? If you are at, maybe you know where I'm going with this, a think tank, for example, or a nonprofit or an outside interest group, you might not have to win elections. But you do have to win hearts and minds. You do have to win in the battle of ideas. In fact, a lot of that is part of your job if you work at a think tank or a nonprofit. And I thought this City Journal piece by Chris Rufo put the Heritage Foundation / Tucker Carlson / Groyper, whatever, Nick Fuentes, whatever, controversy in a good perspective. And I just want to highlight a little bit of what I liked about what Rufo wrote. His piece was titled "What Everybody Misses About Nick Fuentes." And, I think it's, without getting into everything Fuentes, I think he makes a good point when he says, quote, "The right-wing case against Fuentes should be focus on actions and outcomes. Fuentes divides the right, taps into the left-wing fantasy about conservatives as Nazis, rails against President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance, and does not lead young men toward a better life. The incentives for Fuentes and the incentives for the right are completely opposed. If he wins, conservatives lose. This is a major test for the right and one it must win. Arguing with the Nazism versus anti-Nazism frame misses the point, even if one side is correct on the merits. We need to rely on cool analysis instead of heated reaction. Instead of feeding the Fuentes phenomenon, we should point the public in a constructive direction and marginalize those who would sabotage the conservative cause." And this isn't just in response to Fuentes, it's in response to us now being on week 2 of a controversy over Kevin Roberts putting out a video with his opinion on Tucker Carlson hosting Nick Fuentes. Like, we're multiple layers into the Fuentes controversy at this point. And actually today, just a couple of hours ago, Eliana Johnson got over at the Free Beacon a leaked full video of an emotional, tear-filled Heritage Foundation town hall that took place today. And again, this was leaked. It was after everyone at the Heritage Foundation sat in that room and asked what was going to be done about the leaking, why people were leaking. Senior people at Heritage said, do not leak, resign if you feel like you need to leak, but do not leak. And then in that very video where they're telling people not to leak, of course, it gets leaked. And we could do a 5-hour show. Truly, we could do a 5-hour show litigating everything that's happened over the course of the last week since Tucker Carlson sat down with Nick Fuentes and everything exploded. But that has been, that has been digested so many times, and it's still going on, and there's still part of this news cycle is yet to come. I thought, in light of what happened in the election, I just responded to Rufo on X and said I agree, and wanted to add, healthcare costs are about to get higher. We're seeing people plugging in there or looking at on the exchange right now. Exchange is open, enrollment is open, and finding massive sticker shock with price hikes on healthcare costs. But healthcare costs are already extremely high. Republicans barely ever talk about healthcare costs. It's because it's hard to find a conservative consensus on what the Republican healthcare plan should look like. Nobody's saying that's easy, but it is one of the primary concerns of your average voter, and it has been for years since before Obamacare, which obviously has made healthcare less affordable over its time. But let me keep going here. Healthcare costs are about to get higher. Veterans are driving DoorDash to pay their bills during the shutdown. It's absolutely true. Media reports about that. Heartbreaking and infuriating. SNAP benefits are on the line right now. Don't need to litigate the wisdom of our current SNAP program. Needless to say, I disagree with our current SNAP program, but there are, we can all agree, people who genuinely rely on it. Beef prices are up 50%. And as we all know, where interest rates are right now, young people can't afford homes. Swing voters, then, are dipping into the news cycle to see another week of conservatives acting like a story about a man most normal people couldn't name who leads a think tank most normal people could not name is one of the most important things happening in the world. So obviously it's important to the right. It's worth talking about. I don't disagree with any of that. But the level of conversation and concern on social media, I think, reflects the volume of the focus internally. Even as I've had conversations with folks over the last couple of weeks, sometimes it's hard to avoid because things keep getting leaked. And when something gets leaked, it has to be addressed, and it causes more drama and more drama and more drama. So, I don't work at one of these think tanks or nonprofits. It's my job to sit back here and analyze it as somebody in the media. And it is just objectively true. The people who are leaking are making their own situation worse every single day. The people who continue to talk about saving Kevin Roberts, like it is an existential threat to America. Kevin Roberts is the president of Heritage Foundation, which I have to explain as somebody broadcasting right now, because not everybody, even who's tuning in to a political talk show, knows who Kevin Roberts is. Like, it's just, it's really, in the scheme of things that weighs on the average voter's mind every single day, not up there right now. And it's not improving the lives of average Americans. It's not. And Trump understood that was a problem the left faced in 2016. People who want to support Donald Trump might need to internalize that lesson a little bit better. When Trump was talking about getting people to the polls in the last couple of days, telling them, all caps, Truth Socials, he was talking about energy costs. Seriously, if you look at his Truth Socials over the last couple of days, he's saying, go and vote for Republicans. Democrats are going to make energy unaffordable. He's talking about material conditions that affect voting patterns. As Victor Davis Hanson told us earlier in the show, the economy dominates the decision of swing voters and voters in general. And being in touch with that is important. It's not to say any of these other conversations shouldn't happen. It's not to say that anyone is wrong to be upset about something in one direction or the other. But how absurd is it for a movement, the conservative movement, that's focused on, or that should be focused on, what? Improving the lives of the average American through, as we believe on the right, conservative values, right? We believe conservative values are what will improve the life of the average American. It's not that hard of a sort of project or motivation to understand. There are all kinds of ways people can disagree within that, even on this very issue. Even on this very issue. But how ridiculous is it during a government shutdown when there are people, I'm not saying the think tanks can do anything about the government shutdown, although there's some argument that they could do this, that, or the other thing. But it's like astounding how much attention has been paid to one issue over, again, improving the lives of the average American. That doesn't just mean materially. People could talk about like socially in ways that are material, in ways I would talk about. I think marriage is something that has a grave effect on the material condition of people, especially people that you're trying to win over in this entire conversation. Housing, people's ability to afford houses. What is sending people's resentment to be channeled into the fringes of, Groiperland or whatever the hell else, or the fringes of Mamdaniism? It's their material conditions, which oftentimes manifest in spiritual sicknesses. I think they're intense spiritual sicknesses. And if I have to do the chicken or the egg, I think the spiritual comes first. I mean, there are studies of, I mention these a lot. I always am surprised more people don't talk about this, but there's literally studies of indigenous tribes that have barely been touched by the modern world. And if you measure happiness, it's predicated on some pretty obvious conditions. Loneliness, if you have good social ties, if your basic sort of Maslow hierarchy of needs are being met. So that includes healthcare. But that's what makes people say, that's what makes people report outside of the modern world, people who are, living without that kind of different material climate that we live in 2025. There's studies on this, and that's what we find. And so that's where I come down on the like great chicken or the egg debate, whether it's, economic or social. I think it is first and foremost social. But But it doesn't mean it doesn't go the other way around too, because it does. And we know that, and it's obvious. And again, that doesn't mean people who are experiencing, the ravages of a poorly structured, distorted, perverted economy can't find ways to be truly content and fulfilled. But the project of the conservative movement should be to help people live fulfilling lives. And for too many Americans right now, the entire conservative movement and actually the liberal movement right now are sort of agreed that the goal is to assuage that. Things feel heavy right now. That's what I was just thinking. Truly what I was just thinking. Politics is divisive, the news can be depressing, and it often feels like we as a society have more pulling us apart than bringing us together. But here's something simple that truly unites us all shopping small. When you choose to buy from a small business, you're not just getting a product, you're helping someone's dream grow, and you're investing in values that we all share: honesty, craftsmanship, and community. That is what a warehouse is all about. The good people at a warehouse have teamed up with nearly 100 small business makers across the US to bring you handmade goods filled with heart and creativity, uniting people of all backgrounds in the singular mission. So let's choose connection over division and show small businesses the support they so richly deserve. This is a very cool website, everyone. It is awarehouseshop.com. So visit awarehouseshop.com and use code PARTY for 15% off your first order. That's awarehouseshop.com, code PARTY.